A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You're listening to Now This Is Lit, a podcast about Star Wars books, the people who make them and the readers who can't get enough of them. I'm your host, Meg Dowell. I use she, her pronouns. And this week, the High Republic Phase 2 approaches. We're 1 week away from the next phase of the High Republic Publishing Initiative. And instead of doing a recap of what happened in Phase 1, since Phase 2 happens way before Phase 1, as we'll talk about in the episode, I decided it might be a better idea to look ahead to what's coming because it's all very, as I'll say many, many times throughout the episode, exciting. I'm joined by a fellow podcaster and friend for this one. I hope you enjoy. I feel so bad that we didn't get to chill at Celebration at all. Like,
I know.
Like, it was totally, like, I totally intended. And then, like, the whole thing was just so much.
Me too. No, I feel the same way. There were so many people that I wanted to, like, talk to and hang out. And then it just, like, all flew by in, like, one big blur. And I was just like, what happened?
Well, it's like, you plan to connect with so many people, and then all of a sudden your day is like, it's back-to-back things you have to go to, and then you have to at some point have lunch somehow. I don't know. And then, like, you're like, oh, let's meet here. And then, like, you just can never coordinate and find people. It's like, well, what? It's almost like you have to, like, forgo, like, an entire panel to meet someone. And I'm like, I like you, but also I want to see this panel.
Right.
Exactly. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. Like, because I almost want, like, the next time I go to a convention, because I can't do next year.
Neither
is like, I want to, like, get there like a couple days before, so I have time to, like, see people, and, like, maybe, like, I almost needed, like, a recovery day after, like, even before traveling home, because, like, I'm like, it's just, I want to absorb this and know it was like, we got there, it started, it ended, we left. And it's like, I mean,
that was my, that's what I was thinking. So 2024, that was my plan, is just, like, literally getting there maybe 2 days. I got there on this year a day before, which was nice, but even that was still, like, short. I'm like, maybe if I got there like 2 days ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. And we were supposed to get there, like, the day before, not like the entire day, but we were supposed to have, like, a little bit of, like, downtime, and then, like, flights got canceled and things got moved, and we ended up not getting there until, like, midnight the day before the convention started. And it was like, well, there goes the relaxing time we were supposed to have before this all started. And what a day. What a whirlwind.
Right. So that was my plan too, is to get there maybe a couple days before and just like enjoy, relax before, like, the whirlwind of, celebration occurs.
Exactly. Like, I'm excited for the next one. I'm happy for everyone overseas who gets to go when they couldn't otherwise go. There's too many other life things happening next year. I just can't do it, but which is fine. The year after, that'll be fine. The celebration is so worth the wait. Like, even when you can't be there, like, it's still like, you're watching everyone have fun, and there's all the announcements, and, like, I missed so many of them. My first one was in 2019, and now I'm like, I wish I could go to every single one, because it's just so special, and there's nothing else like it. Like, there's no other really point where so many Star Wars fans and creators and people who work for Lucasfilm and all that are all together and can all coordinate, can all just, like, celebrate it. I mean, that's literally why it's called Celebration, but, like, it's just so good. I wish we could do it more.
Yeah. Like, 19 was my first time, and now I'm just like, I need to go every time. Like, it's just so much fun and so many cool announcements and just hanging out with people. Like, that's what I really wanted to do this time around, was just really kind of relax more. And I felt like I did it, but then at the same time, I feel like I didn't. Like, it was such a whirlwind. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah. Well, the other thing was, like, I wanted to do, like, all the stuff in the evening, like, go to the podcast meetups and, like, hang out with people. By the time we got to, like, dinner, I was, like, done. I'm like, I have been in crowds all day. I'm tired. I don't want to do anything else. So, like, it's hard. I think you really have to, like, you have to have fun, but really like know your limit. I think.
Yes.
It's like, can I go to this meetup that I really want to go to? I would love to, but also I'm tired and I can't. And that's fine.
Right. It's like you have to know your limits of like, okay, do I leave the convention early, take a nap, and then do the nighttime stuff? Like decisions.
Exactly. So many decisions.
Right.
Oh, speaking of decisions,
yes.
Let's decide to do the thing. I might keep some of that in. Who knows? I'm editing, so like I do whatever I want.
Do what you want to do, right? It's your
exactly.
show.
It is. It is really mine, my only mine, and no one else as well. That's
it's crazy, right?
It is. It's so great. It is just. It's a lot. Like no one forced me to do a weekly show, and here I am just doing it anyway. And I'm like, do I really? But it's great. It's fine. Talking to people not on Twitter is great. So that's why we're here. So in light of that, why don't you introduce yourself to the people listening? Tell us who you are, what you're doing in this fandom space. Why did I invite you here other than the fact that you're just awesome?
Oh, well, thank you, Meg. Yes, I am one half of the GALactic Podcast. I am Lauren Romo, and my cousin and I have started a podcast in 2000 and God, is it 19 already? Yeah, 3 years. 3 years this past August. So it's insane.
Wow.
To think that I've been doing it that long.
So many.
Right.
So many years.
So many years. I feel like it has taken years off of my life, but in a good way. But in a good way, though, because it's been so much fun. It's been so much fun. But yeah, I do podcasts about Star Wars, and I love Star Wars books, and I love talking about Star Wars, and I have met so many great people because of that. Obviously, yourself included, my dear friend Meg. And full circle, here we are talking books on your show and having a blast. So yeah, this is who I am, and this is what we're doing today, kids. Podcasting.
I do think I'm not biased at all when I say this, but like some of my favorite people that I've met, just in general, have been through Star Wars podcasting and Star Wars social media things in general. I mean, like you hear so many things about like it's not always a great place, but like you just have to find your people. I think is what I've really learned is like if you find the people who are here to do the same things as you with Star Wars in terms of like celebrating and like focusing on the things you like and doing things together and having fun. That's why I'm here, and that's why you're here, and that's why we're friends, and that's why we're podcasting together, because like you got to do it sometimes. And God, I know how to podcast, I promise. And I was this no, this was last year. The last time I was on your show, we talked about books. I don't remember when that was. It was at some point with
it was last year.
Was it last year?
Early last year, if I remember.
Oh boy.
What I think it was it High Republic too? God, I feel like
it was.
Me too.
Some books had gotten announced, and you're like, "Hey, do you want to talk about them?" And I was like, "Absolutely, books. I love books." What is time? That was like a year ago, and
yeah, pretty much.
And so now I had to bring you on to talk about some more books because they're so great, and just it's great to talk about them.
Yes,
so
agreed.
Speaking of books, I like to ask the guests that I invite onto the show to talk about books, to also talk about their Star Wars journey with books, particularly like kind of where you started, like how books have kind of shaped your fandom and like what you like about Star Wars and like what you kind of gravitate towards. So like, do you remember your first Star Wars book?
I do. It's really interesting. So I started with the Ahsoka novel by E.K. Johnston. Right.
Ooh.
What a start.
Yes.
Like I was just, and I think it was around the time because I was super late to Clone Wars. So like I had maybe just finished watching that for the first time in like, was it maybe 2017-ish area. And I was like, man, I love the Ahsoka, great character. I'm like, oh my God, there's a book. Read that book. I was like, oh my God, I need more. What else is out there? And of course, the floodgates, as they say, opened, and my entire Star Wars world was turned upside down for the better, because now I had information and material and just more knowledge of what was going on in the galaxy than I already thought I knew. Like, just amazing content comes from books. And for me, it all started with Ahsoka, and it led to so many other books, so many more just fantastic stories that we have read through novels and books and comics and everything like that. I mean, I think the one after Ahsoka, if I remember correctly, was Dark Disciple, which was
so good.
Changed my life as a Asajj Ventress fan.
Yes.
So much. Like, that is one of my favorite all-time books. I mean, honestly, that has come out. So yeah, that was my starting point, was Ahsoka, though, and I never turned back. And I've enjoyed every single book that I've read so far. Like, they never disappoint. They never disappoint.
Exactly. There is something in, there's a book for everyone. There's a Star Wars book that everyone can really like relate to, and like, even if you don't like every single one, like there is probably one that you're like, oh, like I vibe with this one. But like I am in the camp where, like, I think every Star Wars book for me does something a little bit different in a way that I'm like, I like that. I like that. Yep. I don't, the reason I don't really have a ton of criticisms in terms of like the Star Wars books in general, just because like they're all so different that like I feel like I can't compare,
Nope.
It's like there's just something to like about every single one. And like, out there, you don't have to agree with me, but like, it's just, I mean, literally the reason I made an entire show about them is just because I love them enough to want to talk about them all the time. Are they all perfect? No, of course not. Especially if you get back to Legends, like there are some wild stories out there. But it's great. And Ahsoka is the perfect book to start with. It was the book that got me back into Star Wars books. So like I'd read a bunch of them before and like just walked away from it to do other things. And then Ahsoka was like, what brought me back, because like kind of like similar to you, where like I was watching the Clone Wars late because that's how I do things, I guess. Right. And I was like, oh, I love this character. There's a book. I like books. I like Star Wars. Let's see if, how these books are these days. And here we are. I read one and I was like, wow, that was great. There are more, right? there were, and there are so many more now.
Yeah.
Than there used to be. And they're going to be even more very, very soon. I am not a segue person. We do our best. And that was fine. I do it, and then like I have to call attention to it, and it just wrecks the entire thing. But this is my
fun.
brand.
It's fun. Yeah, I love it.
My brand.
Keep on brand, right? The train keeps moving, Meg.
Oh, it does.
For sure.
It does.
Yeah,
it just
stops.
Sometimes, we're just on some random track. We don't know how we got there, but we just keep moving forward. So the High Republic is coming back. Oh my God, next week. This is wild. It feels like by the time we got to the end of phase 1, the end of the last wave, I was like, oh, it'll be nice to have a little bit of a break to read other Star Wars books, to, prepare, maybe reread the High Republic. Guess what didn't happen? Guess what I suddenly did not have time to do, which is I was like, oh, let's reread some of, at least reread the adult novels in the High Republic, or, something. And then all of a sudden it was September and I was like, well, here we are. The High Republic is almost returned and I've done nothing else. But yeah, first, before we get into phase 2, which is, the whole thing about the High Republic that is a little tricky sometimes when you're trying to introduce someone to it, or when you're even just trying to talk about it, is that the way that it's divided up can be very confusing, which is like, there are phases, which are like the big overarching storylines. We finished the first one earlier this year and we're going into the second phase now. However, each phase is further divided into waves, which is like, it's a lot. It does help. It does help to make things a little less overwhelming, but also when you're trying to explain, oh, this book is in phase 1, wave 2, and you're like, what is going on?
Subsection 3.2 of wave.
It's like how do you even sometimes when you're organizing things, it is extremely helpful until it's not. But
Mm-hmm.
you do the best that you can. So phase two, the first wave of phase two is
Mm-hmm.
about to happen. We start with a book, and then we get a bunch of comics, and then some more books, and then oh my god, an audio drama. The audio
Oh.
dramas are so good.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're doing more is just delightful.
Yep.
To have, when this was first announced, even when we didn't really know what the High Republic would become, they kind of build this as like a multimedia thing. And we thought, oh, like, okay, it'll be books, and it'll be different genres of books, and it'll be different, it'll be comics. And then you get the audio dramas, and you're like, this really is like, there is a little bit of something. There, to me, this is how I kind of like to think about it, is like there's enough
Mm-hmm.
variety in like the types of stories that we get.
Yep.
That it really does not feel repetitive or feel overwhelming, because you get your novels, you get your comics, you get your manga, which I'd never read manga before the High Republic, and I just read the first 2 volumes of Edge of Balance last month, and I'm like, this is great. Something
Ooh.
I never would have experienced if it weren't for Star Wars, if it weren't
Mm-hmm.
for Star Wars does have other manga adaptations they've done, but
Mm-hmm.
um without the High Republic, I may have never like gotten into that. And like it's a medium I'm not familiar with, and so like getting into it, I was like, this is like a new experience. It's a new way to tell these stories, but also like experience them. And so it's like it feels exciting.
Yeah.
um and the same with the audio dramas. Tempest Runner made me care about Lorna D when I really didn't before, which like
Why
she's
should we? And then this is why, right?
exactly. And like her character's always been interesting, but like to
Yes.
get that, because I've listened to a lot of audiobooks. That's like the majority of the way that I consume books at this point, just
Mm-hmm.
because
Me
life.
too. Me too.
Um, it's so much faster. You can
Mm-hmm.
control the speed. It's great.
And they're so fun, like audio books.
Yeah.
I was never into it, and then obviously my cousin Andrea, she
Mhm.
was like, "Dude, you got to listen to these on audio." She's
Mm,
like, especially like the High Republic because
yeah.
of Mark Thompson and just the way he
Yes.
does.
Mm,
So good, so good. So
yeah.
agreed. Audio is a really good choice
Yeah.
as listening to, listening slash reading these books for sure. 100%, 100%.
Exactly. And like, even if you're not like a huge, because sometimes it's like, oh, I'd love to listen to an audiobook, but like I can't like focus on it. That is
Mm-hmm.
valid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I do like with the audio dramas that do come out, they do script books later also. So like if
Yeah.
you are trying to listen to it, you're like, oh, I really can't get into it, you can read it eventually. They don't do those books like right away after, but they do release them eventually, and they're very
Mm-hmm.
pretty. I do like that too.
Yes, yes, they are.
The Tempest Runner one is huge. It's like
It's
it's
massive.
it's so much. It takes up so much space on a shelf, but like it's beautiful. And
Yeah.
if you're a collector, like highly recommend. I
Mm-hmm.
have not done the thing yet where you listen to it and read it at the same time, which would be really interesting to do
Mm.
with a script.
Mm.
I'd like to try that sometime when I have time to reread things, which will be never, let's be honest. It's hard. It's hard enough to keep up with everything as it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
it's man. And I think September has been the first month this year that we have not gotten a new Star Wars book. Every single month this entire
Yep.
year, we've gotten one. And I'm like, it was nice to have a little bit of a break, but I also don't feel like I got one at all, because it's just so, these books are great. There's just, they'd one after the other. And this is not a complaint, for the
Mhm.
record. Like, give me
Mhm.
all of the books.
Yep.
I'm running out of shelf space. It's fine. Um, it's not completely consuming my uh, thoughts at all about how I'm going to fix it. It's fine. So just overall, going
Mhm.
back to like what we've gotten from the High Republic so far, like,
Mhm.
what are your feelings? What are your thoughts? Like, how are you feeling about this new? It's not really new anymore, but this different era that we are exploring in Star Wars.
I love it. Like it's so cool to I think see the Jedi in a different way than I think we've ever seen them before.
Mhm.
More explorer,
Yeah,
you know, more of that than instead of the warrior slash piece of, keepers of the peace
yeah,
that we have, grown accustomed to. So,
right.
and then that's fascinating with these Jedi too of how they interpret the Force
Yeah,
and like what it means to them. And
yeah,
it feels like it's more. on a personal level
Mm-hmm.
in the High Republic
Oh, yeah.
than I think it is in like these movies, and I think even in the shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so different, and I
Yeah.
think that's one thing that I loved about the High Republic. And then obviously Markian Rowe, I think, is one of the greatest villains I think
Oh,
that they have created within within the Star Wars.
yeah.
Like he's fascinating.
Yeah.
Like how they ended that phase
Ooh.
with Fallen Star
Mm-hmm.
is just wow.
Yeah.
Like didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
I mean, should have saw it coming, didn't
Yeah.
see it coming.
Oh.
But it was so amazing how it went down. And they did such a good job with that phase. And then now, to phase 2, and they're going back 150 years is super interesting too. I'm like, well, I want to know what happens after,
Yeah.
what happens at the beacon. But that's cool though. They're like, okay, now you know where it kind of gets to, well, where did it all begin?
Yeah.
And maybe this is why we're doing 150 years, prior to these events. So yeah, I loved phase 1. Phase 2, I think I'm just going to again love and adore these new characters and these new Jedi. Really, I think as far as I can recall, the Jedi that we know are there still would be Yoda. Like that's pretty much it, maybe.
Yeah, like I think that's one interesting thing we're really going to encounter in phase 2 is like it's I think mostly new characters. Like there will be some familiar characters. Like there's an entire Blade comic which will be interesting. But yeah, like like they're introducing new characters, and the other cool thing about that is like they're introducing new characters but also bringing in new authors in addition to the authors that have also been around. So it's like these new authors get to kind of like in a way create these characters and kind of like as they're coming into it bring their new characters into the High Republic also, which is so cool. And that's like such a cool way to do it because like it would be interesting to have new authors come in and kind of like take on the role of like continuing these characters that we are already familiar with. And it's not that they won't, and it's not that authors can't share because they do it all the time, but to have new bringing in new is like really cool to me. And yeah, this phase is going to be great, and it's going to be a lot different, and I think like it's going to be a good way to jump on the High Republic now if you haven't yet, because there's a lot you probably like you might need to, I don't know how familiar you really need to be with things that come before. And that's really important in Star Wars stories, is to give people like jumping on points, kind of like Ahsoka is a good one, for example, because like someone who's not familiar with anything other than like maybe they've seen part of a TV show or they recognize this character, or Ahsoka came into the Mandalorian, they're like, oh, there's a book or there's a comic. And so you could really kind of come into this. I have not read any of this yet. Advanced copies are out, but just like, life is a lot, but it's going to be so good. And I agree with you. Phase 1 was so good, and it ended I was so happy and upset at the same time.
Exactly.
But like that, I mean, that's what these authors do, right? They want to make you happy, but only so much. And then they just want to hurt you. But you know what? They're writing it, so they're hurt too. So we're all they just want us to be on their level.
They just want you to feel what they're feeling. And that's fair and valid, because my word, that God, yeah. I mean, Claudia Gray, Cavan Scott, I mean, all of them, Daniel, Jose Older, all of them, like they are so talented at what they've done with phase 1. And just like you said, I agree, bringing in new authors, bringing in a fresh take with new characters. I'm excited. I'm excited where they're going to go with it, because you really don't know, right? Like you have no idea.
Exactly. Oh, it's gonna be so good. We do have an opening crawl, quote unquote, for phase 2. I'm not going I may record myself reading it later, and you may have it then, or I will put it in the newsletter, or both. But it kind of introduces us to what this phase is going to be about. And basically it's like, because we're going backwards, there is even more exploration. There's different kinds of conflict. Like at this point in the galaxy, like you can't just get on a communicator and like call anybody you want to anytime. Like it's so much harder to coordinate anything, like especially between the Jedi, because you have to rely on, you can't rely on the technology. It's fine. Nothing is going to go wrong at all. I mean, it's Star Wars. It's the High Republic. Like, everything is perfect and good all of the time.
Rainbows and butterflies all the time.
Oh, and yeah, there's just and glancing at the kind of the synopses of all these books, no plans are really recognized. It's like we're going to all new places. We have these new characters, new types of conflicts. I'm so excited to really dive into kind of like a new era within a new era, which is like we're going back now again, as we did with High Republic the first time, farther than we ever have in canon, which is great. I think it's a great time in Star Wars to kind of continue diving into eras time periods, points in the timeline where we haven't yet. I love like the time period between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. It's like one of my favorite, like that, and between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Like those are two of my like favorite times in the galaxy to get stories. It's like, it's why I love Rebels. It's why, Kenobi was great too. There's just a lot. And I guess now Andor is within that also. Hope everyone is enjoying Andor. It's out into the world. And it is quite unlike any Star Wars show I've seen. And that is a good thing. That is praise coming from me. Yeah. So like I love stories told in that era. I don't think you could ever have too many, but also it is good to not go back to there and to go to new frontiers, so to speak. So as we said, why we're scrolling up. Okay, good. The new phase in the High Republic starts very soon, and by very soon I mean on October 4th, and that is when we get our first novel of the phase, and that will be Path of Deceit, and that is by Justina Ireland, who we have spent much time with in the recent few years in Star Wars. And also Tessa Gratton is also co-writing that. And that's one of our new authors, one of our new storytellers in this era, and it's very, very exciting. I love that they're starting off this phase. Just bring the new people in right away. Like, don't give them any time to like adjust. Don't give any. Just throw them right into it. That's like one of the things I'm most excited for, because there's nothing I love more than like seeing new authors come into Star Wars for the first time. Like I think one of my favorites this year was like Mike Chen just like coming in and just like writing like one of the best Star Wars books I've ever read. And just like, where did you come from?
Where have you been? Right. Where have you been all our life?
Because... and also please come back sometime. Like as much as I love welcoming new authors into the space, like there are many. I'm like, please also come back and do more. Don't go away for long, because there's plenty of room. I have a very strong feeling that Star Wars books will just never stop.
No, and nor should they, because they're so good. They're so good.
Star Wars is forever. Whether you want it to end or not, it is. We are just. It's never stopping.
No.
What a great time to be alive.
It really is for Star Wars fans, and especially people that are big book fans. Like, we are very lucky to be getting, an honor to be getting what we're getting. And then, like you said, I mean, it all kicks off phase 2 here on October 4th with Path of Deceit, and Justina is so good.
Yes,
and I cannot wait to see what Tessa brings to the table. Like, I'm just over the moon. Cannot wait for this book. And that was one of the ones I think you and I both got advanced copies of that. We're trying to read, kids. We promise.
We're trying so hard.
We're trying.
The books are so good, but the time is so limited.
Exactly. But I'm excited to see what this one brings and kicks off, right? Because was it Light of the Jedi was a kickoff for phase 1, and that was a heck of a starting point for this entire era. So to see what phase 2 kick off for Path of Deceit, what Justina has in store for us. I can't wait. She brings it. I'm excited to see what Tessa will bring, kind of her flavor.
Yeah.
And to see how that matches with Justina too. It'll be really fascinating to see. And then very exciting to see.
Me too. Yeah, I remember the day Light of the Jedi came out, and like it was trending on Twitter, and like that never happens in Star Wars books. And like to see that, and to see the level of excitement that had been built up, and also that was after a delay too, because it was supposed, the High Republic was supposed to come out before that, and it hadn't. So like, that, like, to be clear, that wasn't a good thing. Nothing in the context of that was great. But in a way, it did kind of like allow for a little bit more hype and a little bit more of a runway to be like, okay, now we're really looking forward to this because we had to wait a little bit longer.
Agreed.
And like Light of the Jedi trending on Twitter the day it came out, let's do the same thing for Path of Deceit, because like what a way to welcome, because Charles Soule is great. He's already been in Star Wars for so long. He's written 100 Star Wars comics. Like he we knew he would be great. Welcome our new friend in with making this trend. Let's do it. You know what? I'm not going to encourage you to spend more time on Twitter than you need to. But hey, for this one day, for this one thing,
October 4th,
do it for me, do it for Tessa Gratton, do it for everyone who has put so much work into these books. Shout out to the entire team, not just the writers, but the editors, to the creative everyone, to the artists who have designed these covers, by the way. Oh man,
so good.
Good. Yes, I love the art for the High Republic, like all of it. The official art, the covers, but also the fan art. Like, hello. I have been introduced to so many artists through like just like making High Republic stuff, because like it's books, so like you don't have books, typically you don't have a lot of like reference material, right? So like if you even want to cosplay something, or you want to make some kind of art, like it's often like just your own interpretation. But like with the High Republic, like because we have the comics, because we get character portraits every time before the books come out, because we have all of this, like the cosplay at Celebration, like let's talk about that for a second. It was fantastic. Like so I've never seen like were you did you go to the High Republic panel that they had?
Did we make that one? I'm trying to think. I think did we make it to that?
I'm trying to remember when it was.
I know. I'm trying to remember if I made it to that one. I don't know if we made it to that panel, but I do remember specifically they had like a big gathering outside for the High Republic, and all the authors were out there, and they did like a big photo. And it was just so cool, because again, this is a new era that we are exploring. And really shout out to the team, like you said, Meg. It has brought so many people together, because there's a huge like High Republic like fandom part of Star Wars. And it's great. Like it's so good, and it's so fun to be part of it. It reminds me of like being part of like the Rebels fandom, like outlet of Star Wars.
Right.
Everybody loves Rebels, and everybody loves the High Republic. So yeah, I remember. I don't know if we made it to the panel, but I remember like being outside randomly, and like they were doing all of that. And I think we got to talk to real quick. I think we talked to Justina. We talked to Claudia like real quick, and just told them how much we love their work, and thank you for doing and bringing the diversity that they have brought to the High Republic. Because that's a big thing. I think that's a big deal. Is a diversity factor that they have brought into the book, this book era, and then moving forward, what they're going to do more of within the next phase. It was cool. It was cool to see them, and it was cool for them to interact with the fans. So you were there? Did you see that whole picture, the High Republic thing?
I did see the pictures after. I think the coolest thing for me was like, I feel like we got to that panel pretty early, and it was full.
I bet.
And you have this moment where you're like, all of these people here, they're not here for a Star Wars movie, a Star Wars book, or a Star Wars show, a Star Wars actor. Everyone who's here is here to celebrate a bunch of Star Wars books. And that's just like to see, like, there are so like, I love the stories of people who got into Star Wars in general, or into Star Wars books because of the High Republic. Like they'd never experienced really Star Wars in depth before that, and they read a High Republic book, and they're like, oh, this is my fandom now. Like books are powerful. Books have that kind of influence, can have that kind of influence on people. And it's so cool. And to see so many people like so in love with the books and so attached to the characters, which is great until, something might happen to one of them. But like, that's the price you have to pay, I suppose. And like, to have so much important representation in these books and to see how successful they are and how much that means to so many people, like that's going to change. That's going to have a further positive change on more Star Wars publishing and more Star Wars stories in general moving forward, because that's why we celebrate diversity. That's why we celebrate these things, because when you show the creators that is meaningful, then they're like, okay, this is why we have to keep doing this. And to allow more fans to see themselves in these stories, which is the most important thing, is like everyone should have a story, a character, a theme, something where they can say like, that's me, that's speaking to me, that's my story. No one has ever represented that in this kind of media before. To have that is so important. And like the High Republic has changed that and has shown that like not only is that possible in publishing, but it's essential.
Yes.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing more of that in the High Republic, but more of that in, the books and comics are doing a lot better than the shows and the movies. That's just the nature of how things are at the moment. But the hope is that like, you continue to see this this positive change throughout publishing, and that kind of influences everything else. That's the hope. I think screen is slower to change than different kinds of media, which is frustrating. But it's I try to think that like, even if change is slow, even little changes, as frustrating as it might be to not have things the way that they should be, like I try to also celebrate the little milestones. It's hard.
Definitely.
It's hard because you want.
I agree.
Yeah, you just want everyone to be seen and heard, and it's hard.
And they're doing a really good job of that, like you said, in the High Republic. Yeah, they really are. They have really, I think, made it an effort and made it a point to feel and get people involved that maybe have previously not felt that they are involved within the Star Wars fandom. And now they're like, nope, you are seen, you are heard. Yeah. These are these characters for you. And I think that's why a lot of people have enjoyed them. Yeah. Really, because they are doing such a good job of that. I 100% agree. 100% agree. And and hopefully, like you said, slow change, but change, and it can lead to seeing it on the screen more and things like that. Definitely. Because the positive feedback is there.
Exactly. I'll never forget Claudia Gray. I had the pleasure of talking to the High Republic authors at Celebration, and I did ask them like something along the lines of, I don't remember what the exact question was, but I asked them about this. I asked them about like, why is it so important to you to make all this representation a priority? And Charles and Cavan were kind enough to just hush for a little bit, understandably so. I love them all. They're so great. Right. But Claudia Gray and Justine Ireland were kind of just like, like, this isn't a political thing. This is just life. Right. Like we exist. And we're just, that existence is reflected in these stories. And that stuck with me and will always stick with me, because that's it. Yeah. There's no better way to say that, is like, people exist and they should be in these stories, and they are. And it's great. And I really just, I want to know, like, that's going to continue in these next books. And I need it. I'm ready. I'm ready. And I'm ready to continue celebrating it. And anyone who is not okay with that can just go listen to another podcast, I guess. I don't know. You're probably not listening at all anyway. You probably just think I don't know what I'm talking about. And that's fine.
Aren't we all shills? Isn't that what they call us now?
I think so.
Lucasfilm shills.
I don't know. Just go make your YouTube videos
and like that. Right.
Just go away. Everyone is welcome as long as you are not hurting anyone else. And if you are, then nope, not having it.
Nope. Agreed. Agreed.
Oh,
Agreed.
yeah.
Agreed. Agreed.
All right. So, yeah, we are getting that one book, and that's as far as we've gotten. This is going great. No, this is great. No, I love, we're so excited. We just want to be excited about all of it. And that's the point, and that's why we talk about these things, because excitement sells books, essentially, and we need to do that in order to make sure more books happen. Star Wars is fine. It's always going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. All right, so that's coming. Path of Deceit is coming in October 4th. That is next Tuesday. Yeah, and next is our middle grade novel. Every wave has an adult novel, a young adult novel. I did not mention that Path of Deceit is the young adult novel. Just because it's young adult doesn't mean it's any less valuable. They are just as good, if not better. The YA is like my favorite. Love the adult novels, but like YA, there's just something about it, and same with middle grade. And our middle grade book for this next phase, for this first wave, is Quest for the Hidden City by George Mann, who is not new to Star Wars. But we are so happy to have him in the High Republic, and he's going to be in this next wave, in this next phase, a lot. He has become now a Cavan Scott level of busy in terms of writing High Republic things. Cavan Scott's doing a few things here and there in the High Republic, but George Mann is just like all over the place. He's doing a book, he's doing a comic, he's doing the audio drama. When does this man sleep? I don't know. But I wish him all the best in he's written all the things by now, but like, wish you all the best in promoting all of this and staying sane, I guess. Good luck. I love he and Cavan Scott are just like, they're besties, and just to like see them like working together and supporting each other is great. So like, now that they're both like doing High Republic things, like that's perfect. If you have not read Life Day Treasury, which is the like holiday themed sort of short story collection that they did together, it is the perfect comfort read around like the holidays, because it's just a bunch of like short stories, and they're like middle grade reading level, but like they're so delightful, and like they're all hopeful, and they all teach you like a little lesson, and they're all Star Wars, and it's like it spans eras. So like there's one in the High Republic, and there's one it's just great. We'll maybe be talking about that around the holidays if we can fit it in. We'll see. It's a great little thing. And George Mann has written he's done a couple other of those short story collections. He did Dark Legends, and then there was the Myths and Fables. They're also great. I think Myths and Fables is the one that has an audiobook, and those are fun to listen to.
I think so too. Yeah.
Dark Legends I read like by myself in the dark one evening, and I was like, well, I know this is a Star Wars book and it's for children, but why did I do this? I'm a little bit terrified, because some of the stories in there are like, they're scary, like not like scary, but like they make you like think, it's, there's like an Inquisitor coming to steal children. It's like, what? What's happening?
What is going on here?
Oh, but they're so good. Highly recommend. So yeah, he'll be doing a Quest for the Hidden City, and that's November 1st. And I love middle grade books because they are like quick reads, but they're always so good.
Yeah, me too.
So good. And like the middle grades have been, all of the books in the High Republic have been great, but like the middle grade novels, I think, have been some of my favorites so far in the High Republic, because we've gotten 3, and they're all so good. Highly recommend. Like, you can read the High Republic like just the 3 adult novels, or the adult novels moving forward. Like, it's possible to just read those, but like I highly recommend reading the other ones too. You get the middle grade ones, unfortunately, are like the ones that are you're most likely to skip, because like they're supplementary, but like they they're not like huge plot moving forward ones. So like, unfortunately, like they don't get as much attention, and they should, because they're all good. I think if you're going to read the High Republic, you should give every single one a try. And again, all of these have audiobooks. So like, if you're short on time and you're like, I don't know if I can sit and read a whole middle grade book, listen to the audiobooks for these are like 3 hours. So like, it's not a huge time investment. You could do it in one afternoon.
I think the thing with the middle grade too is that, like you're saying, it might not be huge implications with like the overarching, but like it's a good, like, hey, life lessons. And that's what it's all about. What's really funny is that, so we got these as we were talking about it, we got the advanced copies,
Mm.
and I was at my parents' house, and I had them, and I was reading Path of Deceit,
Mm-hmm.
and then my nephew saw saw this book. He's like, "Oh, this is new Star Wars." I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Have you like you want to read it?" This is a middle grade one, and he's 8,
Mm-hmm.
so it's right. I mean, right perfectly for
Yeah.
him. And he started, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll read it." He started reading it, and he read like 11 chapters
Oh my
in
God.
in like an hour. I was like, "Oh, so you like it?"
Oh.
He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's really good." I'm like, "Well, give me your cliff notes. Let me tell you. Maybe I'll have you on the podcast. And we can talk
Oh
about
God, he's
your
like
feelings for it."
he may be like one of the first younglings to have ever read the book. That is
Right.
fantastic. I love that. You just don't go tell all your friends what
Right.
it's about.
Right.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That is like a perfect example of like why these books exist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was enjoying it, so I'm really excited to dive into it too. Once he's finished reading it. So yeah, he wanted. I'm like, "You want to read it?" He's like, "Yeah, I want to finish it." I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead, buddy." I'm like,
oh,
"Go for it." So like,
that's
that's
great.
cool, right? That again,
Listen,
that's perfect. It's
we
perfect.
now have our first review officially for this book.
Officially, yeah.
It's great. We have proof. It is perfect for its target audience, and
Yep.
also if you're not that. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
I've read like plenty of like books that are not targeted for adults, and I'm like, this is still great. Like,
Mhm.
don't knock it before you get
Before you
into it.
try it.
Yeah,
Right. I agree. I agree. But
exactly.
I'm excited for the adult books, though. I mean, I really
Mm,
am. I'm,
mm.
and that comes out what, November 22nd?
Yes, Convergence by Zoraida Cordova, who's also been in Star Wars before, but is has now joined the band of High Republic authors.
The tribe, as it is.
Yes, yes, that is coming out on November 22nd. That is our adult novel, as you said. Um, they haven't done it that way yet, where they the um end the wave with the adult novel. I do think
Mhm.
some things got shuffled around with like release dates, which is fine. By now
Yeah.
in Star Wars Bookland or in Bookland in general, we're used to release dates changing because what is the supply chain? Is it ever going to be fixed? Was it ever okay in the first place? Who knows?
Who knows?
Oh, what is paper? Why do we need that?
Right. What is this? Right. What is this
Oh,
stuff?
yeah. So that is we're getting one book in October and two in November, which gives you, just like all of the holidays to like try to read books and like still find
Mhm.
you still don't have time somehow. Who knows? But I am so excited. Like I love that we're getting new books. Um, I just love that we're getting new stories. And like I'm just here for like any new Star Wars because
Yeah. Me too.
it's just I can't ever get enough of it. But thankfully, that's not all. That is not all we're
Mm-mm.
getting. We are not done. Um,
We are not, Meg.
yeah, we are not done with what's coming up in phase 2. Now we have to wait a little bit before the next thing after Convergence, but
Mhm.
after that, friends, we find ourselves in the Battle of Jeddah, which
Mm.
is the audio drama that is coming out as part of this phase. And
Mhm.
who's involved in that? Yes, it's George Mann, because on top of doing his middle grade novel, and on top of doing the comics that we're going to briefly discuss here in a little bit,
Mhm.
he also did an audio drama. And how cool is it going to be to
Mm.
go to Jeddah so long before we see it in Rogue One?
Oh, I can't wait. I can't. This is one that I think I'm super like circling, can't wait to listen to, because I think that's part of it too, is like, oh God, I remember that from Rogue One. Is
Mm.
this what we find out like what happened there? Like,
Yeah.
is this that story or the beginning of it? Like, what is happening on Jeddah? Like, we knew it was special because of Rogue One and everything like that, but like for it to connect to the High Republic now,
Mm.
and to know that something was going on Jeddah, and like there was a big battle there. Oh, like, oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see how this all interconnects, and
Mm.
if they connect it somehow in ways that I didn't even think of, like maybe somehow connecting to what we already know in Rogue One, but like twisting it into like this new version of like, so yeah, Jeddah was like this when we saw it, but it was like this, and this is what happened. This is why you see all those like big statues crumble down. Like this is why. And I just I can't wait. I can't wait for that audio drama. Super excited.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And like Star Wars has, always done prequels so well, and they it fits with the story. And something that's great about that is like where it ends, what happens to Jeddah eventually, but to go back before and to get to the here's how we got here, that is like one of my favorite things in Star Wars, because you don't know, where it ends, you don't necessarily know where it begins and how it goes, and that is my favorite thing. I'm here for the backward storytelling magic, and that's one great thing about just like going back this far is like, we thought we knew a lot about the High Republic. Yes, we want to go forward, but sometimes before you move forward, you have to go backwards.
Gotta understand, what happened before. Yep, I agree.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yes. And so far, I think I should have fact checked this before we started this episode, but I think phase 2 will only have 2 waves. Possibly. I will check that.
Sounds right. I feel like that sounds right.
Yeah, because we do have 2 more books, and it seems like that might be, I mean, that's all we know of for now. We did get through like the entire second phase of the High Republic in it took a little over a year, but like who knows, but we do have 2 more books, and we're welcoming in, I can speak words to what I do. We're welcoming in another new author, Lydia Kang, too. Oh, why did I not practice saying the title of this book? It is so, I can do this. Cataclysm. Oh my God. It's just so
well done.
Everything's fine. That is another book that we are getting as part of this phase. More disasters, more conflict, more Jedi just going all over the place, really trying to make sure things are okay. And for the most part, they're just not going to be, but it's all going to turn out fine, right? Well, we're not sure about that, because the man responsible for the final book in this phase has a track record of making everything absolutely not fine. Hello, Cavan Scott. How are you doing? Welcome back. Are you ready to break our hearts again?
Right. We're not ready, Cavan. Let me tell you, we are not ready, but we have Cavan, no choice but to be ready.
we're just gonna get there. We're gonna have to be fine. Path of Vengeance.
I just love that title.
What's gonna happen, Cavan? What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Who knows? We're gonna have to wait all the way until May 2023 for that one. Cataclysm, that would be in April 2023. These, we're playing. We're not too committed to these release dates, because like sometimes things change, and that is fine. Everyone is doing their best to make things happen in a timely manner. But the thing about the High Republic is we always get it eventually, and that is all that matters. So those 2 are also on the way. I have a feeling terrible things are going to happen, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how that last book kind of leads. If I'm correct, I will check this, and I will correct myself if I need to. But if this is the end of phase 2, and then the next phase will be going back into, let's call, the present of the High Republic, I'm excited to see how those will kind of lead into each other. Because we had to go, as I said, we had to go back for a reason. There's some things we need to learn. There's some things we need to know. It'll be good. And there's this, it's all just going to be great. I've said that so many times, but like it's hard to be excited about something and sometimes put that into words. We have not written Star Wars books, so like we're just, we're not at that level. We're doing our best.
We're doing our best. Well, then plus with Celebration next year, what is that?
Right.
In May again?
Maybe.
Oh God, I know, terrible. But I mean, they'll probably get more announcements of High Republic stuff, so that will be a lot of fun to learn right around those 2 books coming out. So
yes,
it'll be very interesting, very interesting. But yeah, Cavan, please don't hurt us too much.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're not doing as much in this phase as you were before, but like, great work. Please be gentle and generous. Please.
Please.
Oh goodness. We do have some comics also coming in this phase. I'm comics are hard to keep up with. I have not.
Yes, they are.
I'm not up to speed on the High Republic comics that have come before, and that's perfect because we're just getting more. So like catching up, what is that? Our main line, the High Republic comic, is not continuing. The other one, they do the thing with comics where like they end it, but it's the same, but then they start it again. This is the High Republic 2022. So we're getting that. We're getting the High Republic Adventures is coming back. There's a one shot. Claudia Gray is doing a comic one shot. What is this?
Can't wait.
What is this? I'm so excited. I'm also excited that she's still doing a thing. We got multiple books from her last phase, and now we're getting a comic. That is so cool. I just love authors just like doing different stuff and just like trying things. And she's a great storyteller, and it's gonna be good. And Daniel Jose Older is coming in with a comic. Cavan Scott, of course, is coming back in with a comic. Charles Soule's coming back in with the comic. I mean, like the man, like if there is anyone who has the expertise necessary to do Star Wars comics, it is him.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Correct.
He's so good. Like if you haven't read his Vader run, you really should.
Yes.
I mean, his Kylo Ren like four issue run was good.
Oh,
he knows comics, man. Oh,
yeah, he does. Yeah. I know. I have to.
He's good. Yeah. Cavan Charles knows comics. Yes. He knows how to just tell a story in that medium. Yes. So but like you said, Claudia Gray doing one. Oh, sign me up.
It is gonna
sign me up.
So good. Oh, all of this is going to be so exciting, and we will try on the show to keep up with reviews and all of the things. I will have to have you back maybe at the end of this phase, maybe before that, to talk about some of these amazing books, because man, it's so good to be able to talk to people who are also excited about Star Wars books.
Right.
It's all so good. So again, phase 2 kicking off next week on October 4th with a new Star Wars book. I will have links in various places for you to pre-order that if you haven't yet, because you should. And also pre-orders are extremely important right now because, delays. And if you don't pre-order it, sometimes it's going to be a while before it gets to you. So if that is, if you want to have it as close to the release date as possible, do the pre-order, do it. It takes 2 minutes. Yeah. So I will have all of those for all of you. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. You're the perfect person to come on to talk about the High Republic. And I'm so glad that we were able to make it work. I just love talking to you. It's so fantastic. And I would like you to tell the people where can you be found? If you want to talk about books, if you want to talk about anything Star Wars, where can the people find you on the internet?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me on, Meg, as always. It's so much fun. I love talking Star Wars with you, Star Wars books, Star Wars anything. We have such a good time. So thank you for having me on your wonderful show. But yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Loro Knows. I don't give too many hot takes on there, so just some silliness that what Twitter is really for me anyway. It's just fun. Yeah. It's just fun. But you can follow me also on the GALactic Podcast with me and my cousin Andrea. We do a show once a week now, especially with Andor recap. So yeah, we just did our episode 1 through 3 recap that will be coming out sometime in the very near future. And then we got all the rest of the Andor stuff coming out. That is on Apple Pod, Google Play, Spotify, all that stuff. And then that is also on Twitter at the GALactic Pod as well. So that's where y'all can find me at for sure.
Excellent. It is a great podcast. I'm not just saying that because I've been on it. I do listen also. It's great. It's great. If you haven't go check it out. Go wherever you can find this show, you can probably find that show. Do the thing if you like people talking about Star Wars. It's great. So yeah, thank you so much for doing this. It was fun.
My pleasure. It was fun. A lot of fun. We'll definitely do it again when phase 2 gets into high gear.
Yes, absolutely. Please.
Yes, for sure.
The High Republic returns on October 4th with Path of Deceit, George Mann's Quest for the Hidden City on November 1st, and Zoraida Cordova's Convergence on November 22nd. And again, you can check out the show notes for pre-order links for all of those. You'll want to pre-order, it's very important. Now This Is Lit is part of the Faraway Fandom Network and is written, produced, hosted, and edited by me. Jose Jimenez designed our podcast art. Keep up with the show on Twitter at Star Wars Lit Pod, and find the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support the show, just tell everyone you know how much you love it. It makes a difference. For book reviews and more Star Wars book celebration, follow Star Wars Book Reviews on Instagram.